Am I even going to be able to play Crysis with an ATI video card?
No.
No?
It's like, I don't know, 15 frames a second or something. The price of entry is like, I would say at least 8,800, you know. You can go to like 7,800 or something, but you're gonna have an issue. But then don't even do ATI, is just not suited for the game.
Is it not worth playing it, or is the game still good enough that...
I think it's worth waiting, because it's kind of like, I don't know, if there's some movie you really anticipated and it was like a special effects showcase,
sure,
and you knew you could watch it on like some busted ass, you know, tube TV, or you could wait however long and then watch it on like an HD screen or something, you know, it's kind of like, it's important. I mean, if you play it, whatever, next year at some point, it's still going to look better than anything out.
Right.
I'm confident in that. I mean, everything we've seen for the big games of 2008, nothing looks as good. But when you take in the scope of everything, the interactivity of everything, the way that, you know, I mean, light passing through trees, the way that light's filtering through waters of differing quality, like if you're in a muddy-ass river or if you're in a clean bay or something, next year, I don't see anything rivaling it.
Graphics are one thing, but that's not what draws you and I to a game like this. It's really about the open world and being able to tackle objectives in many different ways, any way that you see fit, and playing the game in a number of different ways as well.
Right. A couple things here. We can't talk about the game after a certain point. And
this has to do because there's an embargo. They're just not going to let us talk about
embargoes and stuff. Yeah. And that's difficult because you really, I think to look at this game the right way, you have to approach it holistically with the stipulation that we're just talking about the first 2/3 of the game, maybe one half of the game. Yeah, that everything about that gameplay makes it fantastic. But to say, like, you can't dismiss the graphics. Its style is substance insofar as you're supposed to be somewhere. It wants to put you in this place and make you feel like you're really there. And what happens then is that when visually that illusion is complete, where you're not thinking like, okay, this is a game world and this kind of object does this, but you got this complete impression that, okay, this is a satisfying illusion, I'm in this world, and all the things that you do then become, I think, they become more interesting and more exciting, you know?
Because it's almost instinctual, because you're reacting to the environment, and because the environment is so alive with options that you just can attack it any way that you want.
In the valley. Take it out so we can send it on birds.
In Call of Duty, you're talking about how, hey, remember this awesome part where the helicopter came in and tore up the building and fell apart and the guys, you know, they killed the guys and this and that. And here, when you talk about it, your experience is more like, well, I knew there were so many guys in this enclave, and I did not want to fight them all. So I went inside of this building, and I stuck C4 on all the walls. And then I started knocking stuff around, creating noise, drew them in there, you know, and then I put my cloaking on, so one of the nanosuit parameters, slipped out the back door, and then blew the whole thing up. And then again, the graphics come into play, because when you blow it up, the entire place collapses. And then on the bigger spectrum, it could be, you know, more on the GTA side, it would be like, well, I have X number of optional objectives, and I decided to go over here and do this, or I decided to get to it by boat, or by road, or by truck, or by a tank. You know, every time you play, you can do something entirely different, and the experience is going to feel different because of it. It's so natural, and the ecology changes.
I mean, we've seen the snow levels later on, but other than that, I mean, it's been like looking pretty much like Far Cry.
As you move inland or something, everything just starts to gradually change, and so it's not just the palm groves and stuff. You move into, you know, banana plantations and mangrove swamps and big grassy plains, you know, valleys, you know, surrounded by, you know, the mountains and stuff, and even that, deciduous forests in some parts of the island. And even though we're talking small changes, we're not like, although there is an ice level in this game, the difference between Fire World, Ice World, Upside Down World, or whatever, it's like a really nice organic variety. there's some, there are issues involved in it. Part of it's the fallout of when you have that kind of environment and you have AI, it has to understand its environment, and the more refined, the more limited the scope of your environment, the easier it is to make it do smart things.
Right, exactly.
And like Fear is a perfect example of it. It has phenomenal AI, and it has an environment that's just made precisely to facilitate it doing those smart things. But now when you've got this environment where you can be behind them, you can run full speed at them, go to strength and super jump over their heads, there's a lot of room for it to go wrong.
Sure.
So occasionally it will. The old stuff, you see someone on a hill, you start shooting them, and he's like, he gets hit, but then he just kind of goes back to like,
It's normal.
yeah, I'm just chilling, getting hit. Sometimes it will be like there's a switch, like Splinter Cell, where it's aware of you or it's not aware of you, or it's like not aware of you, but it's like looking for you, and it's kind of just does generic stuff. It's not looking to see if there's blood on leaves and if there's a branch that you broke here in the way that Crytek was saying it would,
So it's not as smart as they made it out to be initially. Not that maybe
We'll have to talk about this after the embargo, but yeah, there's a lot of questions I think I have. But so for the strengths of the AI, I mean, there will be circumstances where you just cloak and then they're still looking around you, and it seems just right. You get that perfect tension where they're going just by you. I've had circumstances where like even 3 and 4 prong pincher tactics where you stir up everyone, and instead of them going to just these fixed points and posting up and having a firefight from there, you have to just continually check every direction because they will be coming around from all sides. So we have so many of these shooters and these different subgenres all coming out at the same time.
Sure.
It's the perfect time to just play one day you play one, next day you play another, and you can't help but compare them, Not necessarily for better or worse, but for very distinct styles of making shooters, And in Call of Duty, it will be very like, you're in this one area and the guys are going one direction and they're looking for you and they'll pass or something like this. Here, they're persistent and they'll continue to dog you, and it's just great. Then you just all of a sudden pop out of the bush behind them invisible, grab them by the neck, and then throw them into their friends.
Hey, Jessica, we find you! There he is!
There are definitely levels in the first part of the game that are among my favorite now in any FPS. I mean, where I'll like want to refer to them. And it's hard because it's just a PC game, and of course, like 360 is another big platform for shooters. And when all the people in the office and message boards and stuff had discussions about what good shooters in each subgenre are, what constitutes and stuff, I really think you have to play, however good it is in the end, you have to play Crysis to be an informed participant in these discussions from this point forward. It shows so many possibilities, even if it's not all there yet. Like, there's so much that it does that you just have to sort of experience it firsthand if you want to talk about them and it sounds like you know what you're talking about.